But you know, like you got people working traditional jobs. Sometimes I envy just that, like that like being told what to do. You know, when we're kind of in a creative industry where we both are creating things from scratch, there's just no guidelines at all. So like you always feel guilty because you can always be doing more.
So welcome to the Tea on Live. My name is Jazmin, Kylene, and on the show, we like to sip tea and talk about things. Right now, we are in collaboration with Well World TV, which is a modern TV network sharing educational and inspirational content. So it's very fitting. And we're going to go live every Sunday at noon on their Facebook page. So make sure to like them and follow them, as well as follow me on YouTube. And today I'm having a conversation that I'm so excited about because it really hits home for me in like every way possible. And I'm having it with none other than Pete McClear, who is a musician and is insanely talented. But I want to let you introduce yourself because you're a man of many trades.
Stop. Thank you, Jazmin. Hey guys, Pete McClear, musician, producer, vocalist, whatever you want to call it, dude.
All of it.
A little bit of everything. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. And above all else, you're creative, which is why I want to have this conversation with you today, because I feel like, and mind you, I think that this conversation is really important to have right now in the situation that we're in. But I think it also bleeds into what life is like before and after this, which is just like, I think the underlying theme of it is placing our value on our productivity. But on the surface level, what we're talking about is creative burnout and what it's like to put pressure on yourself to create and not give yourself enough rest or find the balance of it. With you being a musician and, you know, me being a content creator, I feel like it's been a hard thing to navigate, wouldn't you say?
It sure has been.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
because you mentioned, sorry to interrupt you there. You mentioned productivity right off the bat. You talked about the before and after. There's like a new standard now for productivity. It's like, what even is productivity? What was it before? What is it during quarantine? And like, what will it be after all this? It's crazy.
Totally, yeah. And the fact that we equate it with our value is what I really think we need to like sort of loosen up on. But I basically, as always, I have a handful of questions that I'm going to ask you, but I also have stuff to contribute as well. So it'll be an organic conversation. But the first thing I want to know, just before we even get into it, is just for you to walk me through what your creative process has looked like recently. Like, how have you navigated making your music?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm in the process of making an album, and for the folks back home. So I'm a vocalist, a rapper, and a singer, but I also produce and engineer my stuff. So for me, this compilation, it's like traditionally, if you're a rapper, if you're a singer, right, you know, you're just handed beats, and you know, you kind of just, that's your canvas. You kind of go over them. And then you use a website or you have a mixing engineer finalize them. Me, I'm kind of like overseeing every single little detail of the entire album.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff to kind of nitpick at, and there's a lot of nitty gritty details. So I wish I could say I had like an organized creative routine, but it's kind of just like work on a little bit here, work on a little bit there, work, you know, touch up on this, touch up on that. And sometimes, you know, I end up fixating on the smallest details for hours and I lose my mind. And that's actually what we were talking about off camera. And that's kind of why I think you invited me on the show.
Yeah, totally. Which is because we were just having a conversation between us and we were like, we're constantly going in between this, like creating and being exciting about it, but then burning out and then resting for so long that you feel guilty about not creating, and it's like a weird infinity that you kind of get stuck in. And so I kind of wanted to touch on if you do feel guilt when you aren't creating or when you are resting, because I think that's a common theme for people right now.
Yes, absolutely. And I do, unfortunately. And you know, we're so mean to ourselves, you know. It's like that little voice inside your head is always putting pressure on yourself, like especially when you come from fields like, you know, yours or mine, where there's no cookie cutter way to do it, you know, like there's no set of instructions. You know, like sometimes I'm jealous of the people who just work traditional ass jobs. Am I allowed to swear on this?
I'm sorry. Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, sorry.
Totally.
I'll try and keep it PG-13. But you know, like you got people working traditional jobs. Sometimes I envy just that, like that like being told what to do. You know, when we're kind of in a creative industry where we both are creating things from scratch, there's just no guidelines at all. So like you always feel guilty because you can always be doing more. You know, like it's like, you know, you feel guilty going to like a happy hour with your friends, or you know, going bowling with your friends, or to the movies, because that's 2-3 hours you could have spent, you know, in the lab getting better because someone else is doing it. You know, like there's millions and millions of people doing the same things that we're doing, and it kind of drives you insane.
Absolutely. That's so funny that you say that, because I'm always the person that's like, sometimes I wish I would have just chosen a career that had like a normal trajectory, that had like a checklist, that had a way where I could turn my mind off when I was done. But I think you can never kind of turn it off, especially if you're working from home, you know what I mean? So it's like, I really do envy the structure of it, because in our situations, we kind of have to provide ourselves our own structure. And that's hard because I don't know, sometimes I genuinely feel guilty for resting. And then I talk to myself and I say, you should never feel guilty, especially in the situation that we're in right now. It's like, that's the most important thing you can do for yourself. But it's this weird loop that you get stuck in.
Oh, absolutely. And then like kind of piggybacking off that, a lot of it too has to do with money, you know, and I guess how motivated you are by money. I guess obviously, you know, I need money. I need a certain amount of money in my bank account to, you know, pay rent and a bunch of other things. But I wouldn't consider myself like a super money motivated person.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's like money isn't the goal.
Right.
And at times I'm kind of jealous of the people who, you know, who it is for.
Right.
You know, because it's like if the goal was just to get money, it's like, okay, there's a million things I could do. Just do whatever it takes to get money. But I'm not in music to make money. You know, I'd be more than happy if it came to me. But I'm not out here to get money, so it makes it even more difficult, because you're trying to stay true to like your artistic integrity, your own vision, and that's not always lucrative too. And it just a lot of stuff to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. Exactly, totally. And another thing that I wanted to touch on, because I think it also plays a big role, is just how social media has played a role in your situation. Because essentially I think it can either A, inspire you to create more like cool content because you're seeing so much of it, or B, it can kind of make you feel inadequate because you're seeing so many people create such cool content and you're sort of comparing yourself to them. So have you found yourself more on either end of the spectrum?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I have a pretty unorthodox approach during quarantine. I've actually pretty much turned social media off. Like, and everyone says they're gonna do that all the time. I'm talking pre-corona. Yeah, just gonna take a break from my Instagram, and it lasts like 36 hours if they're lucky, you know.
If they're lucky.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been like completely off the grid, but no, I mean, I'm at the lowest social media usage point.
Awesome.
Maybe of my life.
Awesome.
But if we're talking pre-Rona, before the Ronies, you know, came to town for a visit, as I like to say, social media, it's crazy, like especially as creators like us, because there's this fine line between like inspiration and appreciation for other people's work, and then there's that thing that brings out that self-judgment of yourself. You're like, wow, man, this artist just dropped the most amazing album. Like, I wish I could make music like that. And it kind of makes you feel inadequate. So yeah, like seeing dope content can really take a turn like one of two ways. You're either like Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, do you. That's dope. Now I'm gonna go bust out a song too. Or it's just like, damn, I've been trying and doing this shit so many hours a day for so many years, and I'm never gonna be able to make anything close to that good. Like, maybe I should give up. And and you go down a rabbit hole, and you're just sad and anxious, and it's crazy.
Totally, yeah. And I think so much of it is tied to how you allow your inner dialogue to play out, because at the end of the day, social media isn't going to go anywhere and people aren't going to stop sharing their stuff on it. So it's a matter of like, are you in a place where you're comfortable enough to appreciate it and support them and not compare yourself to it and not like think I need to be as productive or I need to make something even better? Or, you know, are you going to go the latter? So it's just a matter of like, yeah, I mean, I do need to spend less time on social media for sure, especially in the situation.
Yeah, yo, like, honestly, this is another conversation for another day, but at this point in my life, I consider it more bad than good.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Like,
And
it can be used to do amazing things, and it's changed people's lives like you wouldn't believe. But
yeah, totally.
like, if you look at the majority of people, like, I feel like it creates a lot of bad habits. A lot of bad habits. And we're humans. All we know is our habits.
Yeah, we are our habits.
So,
totally. Yeah. It's just a matter of knowing how to navigate it, because it, like I said, it's not going to go anywhere, you know? So, but I think there on social media, there is this narrative of like placing your, like I said earlier, your value on your productivity, and like, you know, this is your chance. This is like, you know, this is the opportunity that you have to like start that business. And it's like,
I know.
You have to find that fine line. But I've also seen a lot of people sort of use it as to push the narrative that like it is okay to give yourself a break right now, and it is okay to like spend all day on the couch if that's what you're called to do, and it's not gonna.
Oh, heck yeah. No, absolutely.
They don't do anything
absolutely.
to what you've done.
And I think actually one thing I think that's actually a blessing in disguise that lockdown has caused, because like now, since no one's reporting to work, some people don't even have their job.
Right.
You know, there's really nowhere to go. Everyone's at home, so that obviously equals more time. Was I supposed to bring tea? I brought water.
As long as you're hydrating. As long as you're hydrating.
All right. So obviously there's a lot more time now. But crap, where was I going with this? I interrupted myself and I forgot.
It's okay. You're just saying that a lot of people aren't able to work.
Oh, right. So like, because a lot of people aren't able to work, they're spending more time doing, you know, kind of working on their craft or their side hustle or their dreams, whatever you want to call it. And then you kind of realize, because you have this time that you otherwise wouldn't. So it's like, man, I worked for 8 hours yesterday. Tomorrow, man, I'm just gonna watch Ozark, the whole thing, or something like that. You know, I'm gonna take the day off, man. I'm gonna go to Publix, and I'm gonna look up a new recipe and just have a chill day tomorrow. I mean, I feel like it's not just quarantine. That was okay to do anyway.
Right.
And I think the good news, like the blessing that this has brought, is it's kind of opening people's eyes up to that. It's like, you know,
giving ourselves.
I'm working hard. I'm definitely not working hard. Like, I'm working hard. Let me just treat myself, not feel so guilty about it for once, and then just indulge in these like the simple pleasures for a day. And then like the next day, it's like we right back.
Exactly. And that can fuel your creative process. That can fuel
for sure,
when you're ready to create, because if you're constantly running on empty, what you're creating isn't even gonna be reflective of like you in a fruitive state, as opposed to if you gave yourself the time to like nourish yourself, that's when you make the best stuff. So that's necessary for sure. Another thing I wanted to ask is, when you're creating your music, when you're producing beats and stuff, is the pressure to make it, is the pressure to be productive, does that come more externally or internally, do you think? Like, do you think it's more like society's pressure, like to get stuff?
I love that. Actually, that's a really good question. And I've been thinking about this a lot too. I think you have like art versus content. And sometimes they're the same and sometimes they're not. Like you said, social media is not going away. People are not going to stop posting stuff. Like, there's so much content out there now. People demand content. They're not going to stop scrolling and swiping, right? So it's like if you want to be anything right now, it's like an artist, you know, like a painter, a graphic artist, a designer, a musician, you know, if you want to be a host or whatever it is, the market demands content. So you got to put stuff out. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like more, aren't you kind of, in many ways, like you're sacrificing like your own artistic vision. You're like selling yourself short by just, I need to put something out just to put it out.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely finding that balance, because, you know, if you're a true artist, you shouldn't let anyone rush you.
Right.
You know, it should be about the art that you're ultimately putting out, but at the same time, it's the world we live in, you know?
Right. Yeah.
People need to see, you know, you need to have that red circle around your Instagram AV.
Always.
You know?
Yeah, totally. I always read about like the number one thing when you're trying to build an audience, or when you're trying to build, you know, whoever you're catering to, it's like consistency, and like making sure that you're constantly putting out a stream of whatever you're creating. And while there is validity in that, if it's starting to take away from the actual quality and the reason why you even started making anything in the first place, then like, what's the point of it? So
exactly. Like, and for sure. And in my specific case, like as an artist, I was doing this thing where I was putting out a song every single week, every Sunday. I managed to do it for 33. Yeah, it was 33 weeks. I wanted to do it for a whole year, but I sat back and I was like, every Sunday, it kind of felt like it was a homework assignment, like a freaking Blackboard assignment due at 11:59 type thing. I'm like, yo, I'm just making a song today just to make a song. And when I go through my like Spotify likes and playlists, I definitely lean towards the artists that have more quality music than the artists that have a lot of music.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, other people probably feel the same way too, man. Like, find other ways to reach your audience. Like, make a TikTok, like post a funny tweet, like post a nice picture of yourself, like post a picture that you took of something that's not yourself. Like, just you gotta dig deep inside to kind of find other creative ways to engage your audience. Obviously, end of the day, if they're gonna dub you as an artist, they're gonna demand art from you. You know, give them what they want, but only when you want it. Like, do it on your own time.
Yeah.
Like,
don't compromise yourself. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And where has have you experienced like the internal pressure at all? Has that come from a specific place, or do you think it's just been more external?
No, it's like, I feel like the internal is more. We're more at peace. Like, internally, I just want to create because I love it.
Right.
It's just, you know, I'll catch a nice sunset and I'll be like, ooh, I'm like, we'll make a lo-fi homework study beat now, like
to that sunset. Yeah, totally.
And that kind of, yeah, exactly. Externally, it's more like other people's demands. And that's where like. You know, that's where like the stress comes from. So.
Yeah, totally. I 100% agree. Now, last but not least, if there's anyone who is watching this who is sort of pursuing a creative endeavor and is struggling with finding the balance of creating from the soul and pushing out their content and then burning themselves out and feeling guilty for not making their content, is there any advice or tips you can give on how to navigate that, or how you've navigated it?
Yeah, definitely. I realized I kind of found because everybody's so calculated with their Instagram posts, right? They need to maximize likes and views. So they're only going to post, you know, at this time. They're going to make sure they tag everybody perfectly. They're going to make sure the post is formatted correctly, right?
Aesthetic, yeah.
I guess my biggest recommendation would be like, take a couple L's, like post like a crappy piece of content and just watch it burn on you. Like just laugh as it finishes with, you know, like 7 days later, just laugh as you got 11 likes on it. Like, and be like, yo, I'm free. Like, I was so nervous to post that. I posted it. No one really liked it, but you know, like
Nothing happened.
no one punched me in the face. Like, no one's,
Yeah.
I don't have a warrant for my arrest out because of that. It's like that you kind of realize like, yo, I'm immune to other people's opinions or lack thereof. So like, you use that as your motivation. Like, all right, well, maybe we'll get them next time. And now I know what to work on. Yeah. And you know, just kind of enjoy the L's, I guess is what I was saying in short.
That is such a beautiful piece of advice that I wouldn't have even thought of. Absolutely. Like, totally just put yourself out there, because it'll teach you that the value isn't in how it's received, but rather how you feel about putting it out. You know what I mean? And expressing yourself.
Yeah, it's exactly. You're fighting yourself there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I would also add in, just to, like I said, remove the narrative that your value is directly tied into how much you put out, to the quality of it, to this or that. You know what I'm saying? It just, at the end of the day, if you're creative in whichever way you want to express that, the point of it is to express it when it feels right, how it feels right. If you're tired, take the time off and don't at all feel guilty. If anything, it's feeding what you're making later on, because you're going to be a better version of yourself when you're taking care of yourself. And this is just for during quarantine, after quarantine, like, just be kind to yourself.
No doubt, actually. And honestly, perfect segue. You said when it feels right, how it feels right. Yeah. And I'd say most importantly, if it feels right.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, it's like, yo, you don't have to do it. Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to post anything. Like, you can be a graphic designer and people don't even need to know that you are. You could do it in the, you know, and you could do it in the comfort of your own studio and computer. You know, you don't have to be hitting people with like weekly or daily content. You know, that validates the narrative that like I'm a graphic designer, so here's my prints for this week. Like,
yeah. Oh my gosh, trust me, I struggle with that all the time. Feeling like you have to market yourself is like my nightmare. But if you put out stuff that is authentic to you, the people are going to find it, and the people are going to gravitate to it naturally. You know, you don't have to sell it or push it down anyone's throats. So
absolutely.
Yeah. But anywhoosies, thank you so much for talking with me. Please let the people know where they can hear your music or where you want them to follow you. If so, afterwards we're like, and shamelessly plug.
Yeah, I know, right? That's so funny. So actually, fun fact, the last interview I did a couple months ago, I don't do a lot of interviews. I didn't even know my own. I didn't have any music up on Spotify or anything at that point, and I did not even know the link to my own SoundCloud. I did not even know what my name was at the time. So, and they were like, so the interviewer was like, so where can they find you? And I was like, I don't really know. I think it's like Pete underscore like no. But for those that were listening, I appreciate you guys. You already know the vibes. It's Pete McClear. I'm on all streaming. PETE space MCCLEAR at Pete McClear. Same spelling. Twitter, Instagram. Don't use the Snapchat. It's shiny you and your Snapchat. I don't use that. That's for children. Snapchat.
Snapchat is for them.
Sorry if I offended anybody. But yeah, you know, you catch me with the occasional tweet, the occasional funny Instagram story. Maybe I'll get on TikTok. We'll see. I did create an account. I haven't posted anything, but
TikTok is amazing.
Keep on keeping on. Thanks for the support, y'all.
Totally, yeah.
Go support Jazmin. Jazmin, where can they find you?
Where can they find me? Well, before I even plug myself in.
This is gonna be coming from your account too, right?
I would say they
better know
where to find me, but I'll still plug it anyway. But I do want to say that your music is so good. It really is. You have to an icon for it, and I'm really excited to see just you blow up, bro. So keep making music when it feels right. And as for me, definitely visit wellworld.tv for more content like this. Like I said, we're live every Sunday. You can check me on YouTube at Jazmin Kylene. and my social media at the same name. And that's basically it. Just be kind to yourselves, homies. Let yourself
Please,
pass.
yo, don't beat yourself up so much, people.
And that's
You're
it.
not that bad.
You're not that bad.
Leave yourself alone.
It's like the last thing you should hear. You're not that bad.